All right, there we are. Okay. How's it going, everybody? Thank you for waiting. Thank you for being patient. Hello. Welcome to the weekly Wednesday lunchtime live stream on Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook. I am DDO's community manager, Cordovan, and I'm starting about a half hour late here because we just had a inaugural address by our new president of the United States of America, and it was certainly something you probably should have been paying attention to rather than this guy. I don't have a lot of news for you today. We're working ahead on getting the raid out. That'll be next, and that'll be on Lamania. But I don't have an ETA to announce. We are full steam ahead doing anniversary planning, for DDO here in late February, which isn't really all that far away. We're going to be celebrating our 15th anniversary, so we've got some planning underway related to that. We also are working on a producer's letter, but it's in its early stages still, so no real ETA on that. We just had a patch today. I could briefly go over the patch notes, because we do... Actually, I should probably do that. That's probably what I should do. Let me do that real quick before I get in game. As far as what I do in game, I thought I would just kind of hit reset on a thing, and I've switched off of Thelanis for now, and I'm going to stay off of Thelanis for a little while, because I've been on Thelanis for a really long time now, and so it's good to move away from that. Okay, so we had a small patch today. I also thought I'd kind of do something maybe a little interesting enough to me. Let me know what you think. Here are the release notes for today's patch. We updated the Snow Peaks coin description to let you know that you can turn in the stuff in the Hall of Heroes. The Hall of Heroes is where you want to go for all the Snow Peaks stuff. Flurry, in particular, who is an NPC sitting on a pile of snow, that is only there when the event is active. Frozen keys are now properly bound to account in the DDO store, and thus, frozen keys have now been published again in the DDO store. You want to hear the real dirty kind of secret about that one? So on Friday, when I published the DDO Chronicle, when this guy published the DDO Chronicle, I thought it would be neat to get a free coupon for some of those frozen keys for the Snow Peaks Festival to say thanks, and that way everyone could just run in a couple of times and not have to worry about things. Seemed cool, except I didn't realize the items were unbound when purchased from the DDO store. I had assumed that they would be bound to account, and as most items in the DDO store are. And the reason for that is that if you had an unbound thing and then I gave you a coupon for it, you could simply create free account after free account and then redeem those coupons ad infinitum and send them to your alt, and that was a problem. And so this guy caused a nice little problem on Friday afternoon that forced us to have to unpublish the frozen keys from the DDO store and thus make today's fix, which needed to be done anyway. This simply exposed the issue. However, it's still my fault, so blame me. So March for the producer's letter? I hope not. Maybe. Let's see. No, it should be before that. I mean, we kind of had a producer's letter de facto with the last Q&A we did on Twitch. That truly is the state of things heading into our winter break. And the next big update is probably going to be, what are we doing really for the first half of this year, and then give some sense of a wider year scale, right? I would imagine some of that is going to get out there before the producer's letter gets published. As a matter of fact, we have some thought about doing another Q&A sit down with Severlin in the near future. whether that ends up being a producer's letter but not a producer's letter, or not, I think is going to depend a lot on what happens in the coming weeks. But I think we're not going to have to wait necessarily for the formal producer's letter to get released before we start learning more about what's going to be happening here in the near future. But I did also just tell you what we're going to be doing in the near future, which is the raid and the 15th anniversary. And then we have another content pack that'll be coming out after that we're not in a position really to talk too much about today. So there we go. Also, we had to pull the Winter Cloak on that from the Glamour Dust Trader in the Hall of Heroes, so that had to get done today. Elixirs of Frosty Luck were not properly giving you the benefit after you died, so we had to fix that. That was really why this is a hot fix of sorts. And then some public areas will now spawn snow when the Snow Peaks Festival is active. That's just kind of a nice thing. And then we also had to cut a thing in a small problem where the Spirits of the Rain no longer have a chance to appear as champions. Sorry, folks, you're key farming. There was nothing wrong with it, but we had to do something. Sorry. It was just a problem. It was a problem. I'm sorry. What am I going to do? All right, so I really think that's where we sit on the state of things. So what I wanted to do here in terms of gameplay for the next half hour or so is kind of start fresh on Kyber for a little while, but I do want to do a thing where I'm not going to be swapping servers every 2 weeks. I don't need to do that anymore because I'm not giving out free DDO points for grouping with me anymore, and that gives me an opportunity to perhaps more fully play these characters rather than really I only get to play them for a couple hours on the live stream, sort of every little bit, and then a little bit on either side of that, right? Because you got to maintain all these characters. Trust me, it just kind of doesn't work that well. But it's okay. It's okay for the purposes of what I'm doing for the show. But I'd like to actually spend a little bit of time, perhaps. Well, the shorthand way to say it is, I want to spend a little time fixing up these characters. When I do get criticism about the show, and that's fine. Whatever, that's fine. Sometimes you're like, oh my god, his gear sucks. Oh my god, why doesn't... Let's take care of that, huh? So, what we're going to do here on some of these servers is I'm taking some of my most played characters, some of my personal favorite characters, and some of the characters I enjoy playing the most. That would be currently right now my Cleric on Thelanis, my fighter on Kyber. I've got a Barbarian on Wayfinder I like a lot, and I've got a Bard I like a lot on Sarlona, and a few others as well. And I want to perhaps spend some of the coming weeks perhaps doing a bit of a deeper character dive. We're going to take a look at some of the stats. We're going to maybe get your advice and opinions about what we should be doing, and then we're going to perhaps go through some of the process of doing that work, hitting those quests, seeing if we can get that item. A lot of that is going to have to take place off stream to the extent that there's grinding, and my pace is going to be slower. It just is. I have a busy life. I do other things too. I've been playing DDO since 2006, and I still play DDO for fun every week. But I don't have the kind of ability to put, let's say, like 20 hours a week into a play character. I just don't right now. And I know quite a few of you do. So keep that in mind in terms of the pace and scale of things that we're going to have to do here, right? So... All right, a part of what I want to do here is try to make more interesting content for the stream. And it may never be super great to everybody, but for myself, one of my resolutions in 2021 is to up my game just slightly on the live stream for both games and see if we can do something here. So what I wanted to do today is show this character, Armahgh, on Kyber, and explain a little bit who he is, what he is, and why he is as good / bad as he is. So Armahgh here was my very first character ever in Dungeons & Dragons Online. He has got to, when he logs in, be one of the oldest character data sets that gets logged in with any sort of regular basis, although I know that there are others. I know there are hundreds of you, right? Thousands, maybe even. Over time, right? Who still have your old 2006 characters that you're logging into and playing. But I bet there's also quite a few of us who have since long abandoned those characters in favor of, you know, more modern characters. But not Armahgh. Armahgh, as a matter of fact, is the former Beefheart the Vegetarian. That was his original name when created on June 17th of 2006. His name was Beefheart the Vegetarian, and he was created on Arenal, actually, I think, back in the day. It was Arenal, right? Yeah, Arenal. Anyway, and ended up, you know, being played for a while. He was actually, when the game launched, there was a sort of we'll just build a character for you system that I used, sort of default stats for a fighter. I picked a fighter because I wanted to test how DDO compared to the D&D 3.5 rule set. Remember, I'm just a player back then, right? And had not played DDO before, although I'd been encouraged to do so for several months by my brother and friends. So when I finally sat down to do it, I was like, well, I want to see how 3.5 this is. So what's the easiest way to do that? I was like, all right, well, we're just going to do the character default creator, and I'm just going to see how the rules align. And, you know, obviously they had generally aligned really quite well, even back in 2006. But this character was created through that system, which was never optimal even to begin with. And then eventually got semi-replaced by a character named Mockduck that was a cleric and was a character I guess you would call my main. But this was my second main, really, all the way back in the day. Now, of course, the person has a couple of lives now. Not very many, but a couple of lives. And has been respected numerous times over the years. Still not really super great or anything like that, though. So that's where we are. So where do we sit right now today on Armahgh? The stats are pretty poor. Obviously, those stats need to go up significantly. You can see I've got a +8 tome going on, and I just really need... I can get at least another, 7 or so, just from items and effects and some things like that. But I'm in a position to get started there. Constitution is okay, you know, could be better. I don't know why my wisdom is so good. Oh, because I got a +21 something or other on, that's why. Fortification's okay. 305% should anything that's going to be able to bypass 305% fortification is probably not worth building against, would be my loose interpretation. I have just enough spell points for a couple of things that I have had over the years that need spell points. I don't even know where I'm getting it from. I must be getting that from an item or something like that. And then 4 feats, it's pretty basic stuff. I'm currently in the Scion of Arborea. That's for the melee range power. And a little bit for the enhancement bonus, but really the melee range power. I've got the Martial Sphere up to Tactician. Tactical feat DCs largely for the Stunning Blow, which has been something I used a lot. Have used a lot over the years. Currently, I just have Perfect Two-Handed Fighting, although I'm currently... yeah, that's because I'm using the Bastard Sword. Currently just using Morning Lord Bastard Sword, so that needs to be changed, although it's adequate for general weekly crunch and through things. I'm not using a named Tower Shield yet, but I will be, I would assume, is what I'll be doing on this. And you can just see basically I've got the two-handed fighting. I did pick up improved shield mastery as well because I am generally a shield user on this character. So I've been doing that. Again, all my favor stuff should go up once I do that. And I've got, you know, just slashing because of Bastard Sword again. I do have Cleave, both improved crit, bludgeoning, and slashing. You know, because bludgeoning too. And that's really about all there is to it. There's not too much. I've got, for my enhancements here, I'm largely... You can see Vanguard. Can say Vanguard. Is basically what is Vanguard, obviously, because I use a shield. Can say because it's alright. And that's really the current state of Armahgh here. Kind of heading into the start of this. So, I'm going to be working to get some modern equipment here. I'll be running some new content. I'm currently, I should also mention, I'm only in Shadow Dancer because I'm looking to get some... I just finished up my Primal Karma. Even though I haven't maxed out all the trees, I've got the XP, right? And I'm working through my martial tree here. I was really clearly just getting started, but because I've got Dreadnought already maxed out, I wanted to move into... It was either Shadow Dancer or Grandmaster, and I chose Shadow Dancer, so that's why I'm leveling that up while I'm running this content. That's all there is to that, I would say. Do I not have epic defensive fighting turned on? I do not. Good point. Good point. Where do I not have it? Where is that? Oh, yeah, epic defensive fighting. Right. There we go. Thank you. So, frankly, I need to work on the hotbars of this character, too, because I had not actually spent a lot of time working on the hotbars here. So let me... I'm not going to do that on the stream here, though. I'll do that before and after. But it looks like I'm going to need at least another hotbar going up here in the near future, so... Oops.
You spot a bent figure in the distance. The hag gives a surprise.
What is this? What's crawled in from the mortal realm? You should try UI layout save. So I have. Oh, actually, you know what? Why am I running? Gameplay with Cordovan. Anyway, let me get to that. I have over the years done UI layout save and load. I should do it again, especially because in the past year here I've been sitting at home, right? Not from the office. I have found that it's more work than it's worth to try to maintain all this stuff through work computers, laptops, and PCs, of which I tend to use several over the years, to try to maintain a proper UI layout load, especially when I'm often copying over builds from internal servers rather than, say, going through the standard gameplay updater launcher. So I tend to just not find it worthwhile to me to use layout load and save very much. Although I do very get use out of it during certain scenarios. Especially some work scenarios, it's absolutely critical to have that kind of thing. For example, when you're setting up 24 computers from the floor of PAX East, or trying to get an entire computer lab set up with the gameplay builds, that kind of thing. That kind of UI layout load and save is just lovely. And it's nice and portable. So for those of you who are into it, it's actually a pretty cool thing to mess around with. I do not have any news or movement on cosmetic storage in DDO other than we would love to have it too. His hair whack. Actually, I just have the hair back in a ponytail, and I took a shower late today, so it still just kind of looks like that. The beard, I don't know. I've just been going off the beard for a couple months here. I'm sure it'll be back eventually. I'm just kind of rolling with it, as they say. You can get 90 strength at level 30 on a first life. I'm sure. Right. And that's part of what I'm going to be doing here is working to up my game there. So. The weekend event did not get mentioned, but that's a great place, or a great suggestion, and we'll get to that in just a second. There is currently no way to gift DDO points. That is something we are working to do in the near future, but I don't have anything to announce on that. We would like to be able to offer it too, but we're not there yet. HD did look nice for a while we had it. Tom on Facebook says, I agree. I really would love to be able to offer this stream in 1080p. I've been doing a little bit of my personal streams and like some of the YouTube videos I've been doing, which I'm not going to talk about on the show here, but I kind of started doing it in 1080p, and then I realized, oh man, that really does look better. But the problem I run into is that I am ultimately streaming from my home. You're getting the Cordo real life experience here, and apparently, I don't have enough bandwidth, despite having pretty good bandwidth in the house. I don't have enough bandwidth to be able to stream to Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch simultaneously from XSplit, which means I believe that you would have 3 upload bandwidths that you would need, right? So one of the things I can look into is there are solutions online for this kind of thing, such as Restreamio is one that I've had suggested to me quite a bit. I just haven't really wanted to get into that yet because I don't know. Because I need to, I guess. And then hopefully I would be able to do a 1080p stream that would work in that way. I don't know what that means, though, in terms of how it's going to work. And I can't have, like, free version watermarks on the weekly Wednesday lunchtime live stream. So I'm not quite sure what that's all going to mean yet in terms of how I go about streaming in 2021. What is something I'm actively considering, because I agree it should be in 1080p, and I'd like it to be if possible. Right. Exhibitor Spawning Palace. Oops. So, yeah, I guess that's that. Restreamio is great. Yeah, basically what I need to do is I need to start paying for it, and then I need to have SSG start paying for it, and that means I need to submit a world, you know, stuff. Stuff has to happen. And that is stuff that I'm... It'll be fine. I'm just... bad at that kind of thing. Anyway, no, I'll get it done. Should be fine. Alright, the other suggestion I've had is don't run on Elite. Last week was kind of embarrassing. It was kind of embarrassing, I agree. My character just is not ready for that yet, clearly. And so I should not be running on Elite and then dying horribly when I don't need to. Maybe I shouldn't die horribly when I don't need to all the time, huh? What do you think?
I've done my part. Get out there and finish the job, soldier.
What is it? Oh, I have a collectibles variety crate. Wow, I haven't seen one of those in a while. Alright. I'm just bringing out a little firepower to help me out a little bit. The reason I actually kept a few of those mnemonic enhancement potions is because at one point, I can't remember if it was in... I must have been in Primal Avatar. There's some ability that I was using that required a small outlay of... spell points, and so I gave myself just enough to be able to kind of cast that when I need to. So this character does not, this character, I don't have much. You can see I've got a champion 32 point build. Do I actually have any epic past lives? I don't think I do, so maybe I haven't. But maybe I don't have any past lives in this character yet. I'll have to look into that. I thought I had one, but maybe not. But that's something I should be doing then as well, right? And I can take care of that. Anyway, I like Armahgh, though. No particular reason other than I like the character that I've created. He was never meant... In the same way that if you've ever seen my D&D playing, you'll know that I often tend to prefer characters that have some flaws. And one of those things that I like to do is sort of play suboptimal characters, and Beefheart the Vegetarian was always meant to be kind of a suboptimal character, especially since he was created, you know, using the thing that the old 2006 system, and I just stuck with that because I stick with things like that because I think it's fun, and so I do that kind of weird stuff, and so it always just made sense to this character to not really care that much, and then you know, because I never played this character very much, and I can get into that actually too in a little bit. But because I never really played this character much, they ended up on Kyber, and because they ended up on Kyber and had been played some, it made sense to use them for the live stream.
Lady White Lily has requested that you find her a snack. A frivolous request, it seems. Yet,
because they at least had enough strength in that to get the job done. I was just running around in groups. You know, a lot of times when I'm doing the live stream, I'm half playing. Let's say 3/4 playing. And then the rest of the time, I'm trying to pay attention to Twitch chats and all the rest. So as sort of a laid-back character that often was following a public group that was there to get free DDO points, you know, and play, but also to get free DDO points, you know.
with a big toothy grin and speaks.
Oh.
Friends, I am Riddlelock. Come, let us talk.
I don't think I ever answered. Have I not done this one yet? What word of 5 letters has 1 left when 2 are removed? Oh, stone, huh? Okay. stone. Do you count? I think I know who wrote that one. The Lord of Stone would be proud. Oh, where am I going? Where am I going? Here we go. All right. So I believe that's that. So that we move up. Groovy, are you having a problem? Is the stream freezing up on you? Hopefully not. What is up with the Feywild raid? Good point. It's being worked on. We had a voiceover recording session. Late last week, and that was for a in development track for the new raid. So we're making progress, and I would expect it to be available in the relatively near future. In terms of why we're not saying much about it, what do I need to do? I'm not paying attention. Oh, I need one more token. So, it'll be on Lamania in the relatively near future, but we're not there yet.
What can I do for you, Outlander?
Oh. Over here a bit.
Don't get weighed down. Fast legs feed the wolf, not a full backpack.
Wink. I need the apple. Yeah. Why do I feel like I still feel like there's something I'm missing. Not here, though. Right? There's nothing up here, is there? No. So I guess that's the latest on the Feywild raid. Oh, I was going to mention also about how this character ended up on Kyber, kind of in its semi-sorry state. So when I played this character as kind of a second main up until the point... Oh, here we go. Old Aggie. Next week. Okay, so that's not it. When I got hired at Turbine, they had at the time some pretty significant restrictions as to whether you could play your old play characters. And so... Oh, here we go. Thank you.
A single, brilliantly red apple hangs from one of its branches. You knock the apple from the tree, and it falls at your feet. The tree is not pleased by this.
So at the time, you couldn't play any of your old play characters that you had played with regular non-employees. And since I was coming directly from DDOcast at that time, remember that I had quite a few characters that were well known to the public, and I was really not allowed to play them anymore. And that was difficult. That was actually pretty difficult at the time. And so what ended up happening is there's like, well, you can play them, but you can only play them if you transfer servers, rename them, and then not announce that it is you who is behind the keyboard of that character when you're playing on the regular live servers. Which is fine, except that for whatever reason, and I don't know why that is, actually I do know why that is, for whatever reason, when I get on voice chat and start talking to other players, people are like, hey, I know you. It's my dumbass voice. What can I say? Anyway, so that posed a little bit of a problem. And what I ended up having to do... what I ended up having to do is just use... What am I doing wrong here? Arrgh. Take 3 tokens to the tower, find only a snack. I don't know where the snack is. Is there something up there? Maybe. At the time, it made sense. Remember that the game was a very different operation back in that day. It was a lot bigger and run by Warner Brothers, who was a pretty big company and has to manage lots and lots and lots of games all over the place. So you end up in this, scenario where you have rules put in place for the protection of employees, the company, employees' privacy, address things that need to be addressed, like just a whole bunch of things that need to be addressed when you're an employee. So at 2010 rules, okay, fine, it made sense, right?
My part in this story is done. Time to rest.
Okay. So now I go back to the tower door, right? So it made sense at the time. But it also meant that I really didn't play the character much. What I ended up actually doing was playing with a core group of friends. A pod, as they would say, in modern parlance of our COVID days. So I didn't have to really worry about not being on voice chat and all that kind of thing, because I ended up finding that when it came to it, it wasn't really the characters that mattered. It was more who I was playing with and the game I was playing. And especially, you know, as the 2010s went on, you know, we introduced things like reincarnation systems and a whole bunch of other things where having those old characters were not really particularly relevant. And so they just kind of ended up getting dropped and replaced. And that was fine. Ended up being fine. And so that's ultimately what I ended up doing. I was playing on Armahgh. I was playing on Sarlona. I was playing on Thelanis. And then in recent years, you know, I've been playing elsewhere, right? But those restrictions ended up going away. And then I really just kind of kept playing the characters I was playing with the people I was playing with, because that's what I was doing anyway, right? So it was fine. But then when the live stream happened, when the weekly Wednesday lunchtime live stream began, and I started to need at least slightly developed characters on every freaking server, it made sense to pull out some of these older characters. But because I've been in a position where I don't really play them a whole lot outside of the live stream, and I only really play them for a couple of weeks, a couple of hours every couple of months, you don't really find yourself in much of a position to be able to develop their equipment and stats and all that in the way that you really would on a regular play character. So Armahgh, the reason his name is Armahgh, and this is the one bit I think most people do know, is that because of the turbine restriction at the time, where he had to undergo a rename, I couldn't obviously rename him. He had to be something very different. And so that's what I ended up doing. And I came up with this stupid idea in my head where when Beefheart the vegetarian went to the gates of Stormreach and was asked, "What is your name?" he was like, "My name is and they're like, "Welcome, Armahgh, to the city of Stormreach." And so his name is Armahgh, according to the official records. If you go in, where is it on the... There we go. Here's the bio. Once upon a time, Armahgh resided in Stormreach under a different name and had many adventures. Eventually, he retired from adventuring in order to focus his efforts to bring vegetarian ham to Stormreach. It did not go well. Several years passed, and Armahgh returned to Stormreach, hoping that the guards and city officials who forced his hasty retreat from the area were long gone. They weren't. They did, however, not remember him all that well yet. When asked by the city guard upon his entrance to the city who he was, he began to say "Bee," but then remembered that he was trying to sneak back into the city. So he replied, "Armahgh." The guard replied, "Armahgh it is. Welcome to Stormreach. That'll be 1,000 plat. Armahgh is back." And that was the bio that was in Armahgh from the moment, I should say, I got hired by Turbine. And that has been... So for those who read the bio back in the day, obviously there was no real clue to know the story, but in my head, there was a story going on. And it was one of those hiding in plain sight kind of things, a little bit. I had to just basically not use voice chat whenever I was playing my characters for those first couple of years. I just had to not use voice chat. And when you're a guy who loves to talk, it's a little harder than you'd think.
These look like they had fresh
I slipped up a few times. Eventually it became far less restrictive, and especially under SSG here, where the needs changed, right? Because especially in my own case, that whole "you need to stay silent and no one needs to know which characters you're playing on," that really became largely irrelevant for something we even had to worry about. Either
veterans.
I was just playing them live, and that's fine. And I still act while I'm playing live as if I'm representing SSG. Or I'm playing on my play characters that nobody knows anyway. So, you know, it's fine. It became less of an issue. But that is the history, ultimately, of Armahgh here, as we embark on an adventure together to make him slightly better here in the coming weeks on the Weekly Wednesday Lunchtime live stream. Oh, I should mention the vegetarian thing. So, the reason there is a vegetarian thing in there is that right when I came into the Turbine offices, I went to Eladrin, who is a name some of you may know, some of you may not. He's an old school DDO dev who was around for a long time and did all sorts, many great things. Anyway, one of my first orders of business, when I got hired on that very first day in office, not office, can you tell I would just watch the presidential inauguration? My first day on the job, I had put together a character stat sheet, a monster stat sheet for Armahgh, being a sort of vegetarian protein that I love. And I was like, if you're going to bring it into the game, this is what you should do. And he was like, no, we're not going to be doing that. And so that was fine. That's fine. Of course, that's perfectly fine, right? But anyway, so that is what that is about. That's what that reference in that particular bit of the bio is actually about. Is that little bit of goofy that I did. So I need Hajils. Hajil me. Hajil me. Anyway. Maybe I should start paying attention to what I'm doing. Give myself my power attack here, give myself a boost here, and start actually fighting for a second so that I do not die on the live stream today. I have... So someone in Twitch chat has said, does that mean we're never going to get free DDO points from the live stream again? So, kind of. We still give away plenty of points during anniversary streams and do things like that. But I don't think I want to encourage people to watch this stream simply to get points. And if people don't want to watch the stream, I don't want them to feel like they, quote, have to watch the stream in order to get free points. I would rather that people watch the stream because they get some kind of value from it. That's not to say we won't ever do giveaways again. As a matter of fact, I have a thought, but I'm not going to say it out loud today because I don't want to commit to it. But I do actually have a thought about ways that we could regularly distribute small amounts of DDO points that would be based upon certain requirements being met. And then set that requirement like every time Cordovan gives away 100 DDO points in chat. That's something I'm considering. But I'm not going to announce that this week.
The hag dies, screeching to the last. After a moment, the Viscount rises to his feet and blurts.
Who was that? What's going on? I demand an explanation!
Don't get weighed down. Fast legs feed the wolf.
Where's the
Not a
loot?
full backpack.
Here's the loot. Alright. There's the loot. No loot of the named variety for me. Okay, well, that's fine. And that is going to wrap it up then with the weekly Wednesday lunchtime live stream on Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook. Thanks so much for watching. I'll be back in a week. I think I'll be back on Kyber and with a little bit of a plan of action. Actually, you know what? I'm going to be back next Wednesday with a small PowerPoint presentation on how to improve Armahgh on Kyber. And we're going to start going through that a little bit next week, along with the regular news that we have here on the weekly Wednesday lunchtime live stream. Oh my gosh, the bonus! I almost failed to give the bonus. I will do that here right now. Before we switch on over, if you are watching over on Twitch, to Samus Garobo, who will be taking us through the afternoon. While I'm doing that, I'm just scrolling through chat, see if there's a few things that I failed to mention that I could. Any word on fixing the news store for people outside of the United States? We did do some work related to payment processing and that in recent weeks. So I would make sure that you have gotten in touch with account support through help.standingstonegames.com to see if perhaps your issue cannot be resolved. I believe that your issue could potentially be resolved, I should say. And if that doesn't work, then there may be a few areas that we still have payment issues from. I know that VPN remains an issue for some payment processors. So depending on that, you may want to just try not using a VPN if that's a possibility for you. And if that's not a possibility for you, then like PayPal, try a different payment method, something like that might work. And if that doesn't work, then again, I guess I'm really going to have to refer you to account support, who is far more knowledgeable about some of the more intricacies of our payment systems than I am. Okay, so to end the show today, we have got a Champion Hunter weekend. So that is going to be kicking off late tomorrow morning Eastern time. We're going to have the limited duration items in the NPC in the Hall of Heroes. That's the Champion Hunter boost. So that'll be running Thursday through Sunday here. Thanks very much for watching, and I will see you again next week.